there, and welcome to Know Your Vibes Astrology. I'm Katie Turner, and today I'm talking to you about why yoga is such a great practice to add into your astrology practice. And for a little bit of background on myself, I am not a yoga instructor. I do it for my own love and my own joy. So I've been doing yoga for about as long as I've been doing astrology as a personal practice, sometimes going a long time without doing it, sometimes doing it daily. So my relationship has fluctuated with yoga, but it's always proved to be such a really important tool for me. And I feel like it has a good relationship with astrology and how it can highlight aspects of astrology and help you in how you can manifest those in your life outside of the chart. I do have a background in astrology, so I am a professional astrologer and whatnot. So my experience with astrology comes from, again, my personal journey, but also to my journey with my clients, and you know, my goal to help you take what's in your birth chart and expand it in your life. So first of all, yoga has a couple different principles that I think that translate really well to different areas of our birth chart that we want to articulate or integrate, because that's kind of the goal, right, of astrology, is to tap into our birth chart and really see who we are, highlight who we are, navigate maybe those hardships we have, and come to a place where we feel like we are fulfilled and we are living how we're meant to live. Even if that shifts and changes and our relationship with that feeling shifts and changes, that's kind of the goal of astrology. We're recentering and returning to that point. So one of the biggest principles in yoga that is really easily translatable to our birth chart is this root to rise concept. So there's a lot of moments in yoga where you go from a forward fold, for instance, and you slowly but surely roll up to a mountain top position where you're tall and you're standing firm. And to me, this really represents your IC, or your 4th house, to your MC, or your midheaven 10th house. And how can we kind of root from our foundations of that 4th house energy and rise into what we can be, what we're trying to build with our midheaven and our 10th house. That 4th house represents your emotions, your foundations, your home. How can we really tend to that and make sure we set that up well, but then also to move with integrity into our midheaven, which is what we want to become, our career, our public persona, what we have to work hard to do. And so if you're in a place in your life where you're trying to really navigate career and getting that done, or home life and trying to figure that out, tap into this root or rise concept, or root to rise concept, and how you can move through them. Look at what's your midheaven, look at what your IC is, and see how you can rise through that same process within yourself. Then you have this other principle of expanding and contracting. So in yoga, you're often led with your breath, but there's also 2 expanding and contracting poses, like you have the cat-cow kind of idea where you're expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. This can represent 2 different things in astrology, I think. For one, you know, we do have this breathing form, so we're going to move through our birth chart in that own way, where sometimes we're really expressing parts of who we are, other times we might be a little bit more hidden in expressing those aspects. But I think the sun and the moon could represent this as well too. So the sun being our expanded self, our light when we're shining to the world, when we are, you know, open and bright, and then our moon being our more contracted self, our more personal self, our restful, our retreat, our turning inward, or tending to inward. That could also be the new moon to the full moon, so the new moon being this intro, and then the extro being that full moon energy. But also too, Jupiter and Saturn. So Jupiter represents expansion and bringing in good opportunities and things into your life. So we're expanding, we're opening ourselves up to opportunity, and then we're contracting with Saturn, which is kind of this energy that does contract things and restricts things, so that you can really kind of find integrity of your structure, of who you are inside, finding your ambition, finding your ability to show up in a really powerful way. And when we contract, that's what we're doing. You know, we're setting ourselves up for success. So when we do expand, we're coming from that well set up place. So if you're in a position where you're trying to find the balance between your inner light and your outer light, or if you're trying to find the balance between opportunities and life lessons, then this expanding and contracting energy may be something that's useful for you, and understanding kind of the flow of how that moves. Yoga also nurtures certain themes. I've already mentioned one of them, but just in passing, so I'll touch on it again. But the first one is it brings in this theme of balance. How can we balance our body, our posture, the energy movements, the work we're doing, our mind, and how we kind of approach the day? And so when we can take that balance from yoga and bring it into astrology, you have squares, you have oppositions, and sometimes you have T-squares or grand squares, and you have these bigger aspects, of the grand cross, excuse me. You have these bigger aspects that you're having to balance and find a way to work with these. So if you're someone who has a lot of sister signs, so maybe you have Pisces and Virgo activated, or Leo and Aquarius activated, or you're someone who has a lot of squares, you have a fixed square or a mutable square, finding that ability to balance through yoga can translate well to balancing energy out in astrology. The energy of yoga also kind of nurtures the theme of strength, and how can you find strength to support yourself and tune into these like finer tuned muscles and really activate all of who you are in a very nuanced way to do these wonderful poses and stretch yourself and whatnot. And I feel like that can translate to astrology as well too, because we have to tap into that strength to hold space for all of the parts of our chart, especially if we do have a really big widespread chart, so it's not all in one area, or if we have some tough aspects or things like that where we have to kind of hold space for everything. Even if we have a very easy chart, we still have to hold space for the different components of who we are and honor those, and that takes strength to be able to tune in and feel these aspects of self. And so not only do we need to find balance in our life that yoga can help us with astrology, but also too we need to find the strength to navigate our life and be who we are and live up to what our birth chart is asking of us. Of course, it does bring flexibility as well too, so trust in your ability to create space for who you are. So when you dive into your birth chart, you really get to learn more about your different faces and your different aspects of self, so you can maybe feel more comfortable in how you move through the world. But lastly, with the themes that yoga brings, it brings this theme of finding your center and recentering yourself and finding your core and using that activation of your core to kind of lead everything else. And I think that's something that astrology can really invite us to do as well too. What is the core or the soul of your birth chart? You might look to your north node, your sun, your moon. Second house tells your values and what's important to you. It might be Neptune, it might be something that just stands out to you. It may be based on what's in your chart, but look at what is really speaking to you, and it might change, right? It might change how we connect to our center, but find out what that core is of your chart and use that as your returning point. For me, I use a lot of times my north node. So I will check back in and how aligned do I feel like I'm with those missions versus my south node, and if I'm more south node oriented, how can I switch towards that north node? And when you refine your center in yoga, it helps you move through the postures and poses with more ease and more grace, and it helps you move with more strength as well. And I feel like that can happen in our own birth chart too. So if you can connect with your center, and you can check, maybe your north node says one thing, and that's going to really help you move through a challenge Saturn is bringing, or struggle Chiron is bringing, or something, whatever is happening in your birth chart, you can tap into that. Lastly, what I feel like is the most important thing about yoga and what it adds to the practice of astrology is that it takes what is a very mental energy and it helps you ground into your body. Like when you do yoga and especially if you're guided by someone else, it really takes you out of just your mind and into your body, into every single corner and aspect of your physical energy. Astrology is such a mental practice. It's so mental, and I feel like we need that encouragement to drop into physicality, especially if you are someone who's really drawn to astrology. You probably have a lot of mental energy in and of yourself. Maybe you have a lot of air signs in your birth chart, or your Mercury placement's really strong, or your Venus is really strong, or your Earth air houses are really strong. But I got my air energy got distracted there as well too. But like if you were someone who is very into this mental breakdown of people and psychology, kind of in a way, this is spiritual psychology of ourselves and others and what we're moving through, then you're going to need to be able to ground into your body and get out of that space sometimes as well too, to balance that out and to counterbalance it. It's mind, body, and soul. And I feel like astrology is a great way to go from mind to soul, but we do need body as well. Yoga is a great body practice because of those themes, those principles I was talking about help translate to the themes of astrology. And when you really articulate your birth chart within yourself, you're going to try to find balance. You're going to try to find strength. You're going to try to recenter yourself and expand and breathe with those contractions that you're moving through. Yoga can help you do that. And one of the things I love so much about the yoga person that I listen to, which I'll talk a little bit about at the end as well, is she always says, You know, you can take this off the mat. Don't decide where this ends. And you can bring these concepts of balance and root to rise and refining your center and your strength and move them out into your life and into your worlds. And I think that's something that we can really benefit from when we bring into astrology. We can take astrology out of the piece of paper, out of the chart, and bring it into our lives. And so it's not just about knowing what your sun sign is or your moon sign, or knowing your Mercury sign is this and this is how you communicate, but it's really about how do you bring that energy and breathe it into life in your physical life and in your world and what you're creating and manifesting. So I think yoga is just a really great practice to kind of marry with astrology for all these reasons. By no means is it the only practice, and maybe I'll highlight some other practices as well as time goes on, because I feel like the more we can build our toolkit, the better. The more we can support ourselves, the better, because it's that support that helps us do the things we need to do and want to do and feel good within ourselves in this world, and live up to what we want to be, whether that, you know, is one day at a time, of course. And yoga is really that one day of a time energy. It is, for a little of astrology background, it fits into the 6th house, or Virgo energy, which is also routine, health, little details, the nervous system. So yoga is great for the nervous system as well. If you have anxiety as well and you're an astrologer, this is a great practice to add to. And it's just this dutiful service that you can do for yourself. It's tending to the body each and every day, listening to the body and moving with that flow, but also to the same thing for yourself and your self-development, your personal expression, and how do you move your light out into the world and devote yourself to yourself each and every day, if that makes sense. So for myself, I listened a lot to Yoga with Adrienne. So if you're not familiar with her, she's on YouTube and she's really wonderful. She's currently doing a 30-day yoga challenge, or journey, I should say, not challenge, for January, and I'm doing that as right now, and I'm absolutely in love with it. So let me know down below if you have a yoga practice, and if so, do you see it relating to astrology? Do you see it helping? Was there any areas that I didn't mention that maybe you noticed that astrology and yoga overlap? And if so, share them down below. Thank you so much. And if you liked, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.